I mean, there's a lot of good stuff happening if you got money and you can play in the market. But they're innovative in finding ways. Well, here comes the big the big cake they can slice up now. It's a $3.9 trillion election year budget blueprint that would bust the bipartisan budget ceiling agreed to in December with $56 billion in new stimulus spending. Now, look, this should come as no surprise to anybody. The president's talked about roads, bridges, infrastructure, jobs, and he says that he wants to make it a year of action. Well, here, act on this. And he wants to tax the wealthiest Americans. That's the bottom line. Hakeem Jeffries, who is from Brooklyn, Democrat in the Congress, member of the House Budget Committee. Congressman, good to have you with us.
Ed, great to be with you.
Your take on the budget?
Well, it's a very progressive-leaning document and clearly emanates from the Democratic wing of the Democratic Party, and that's a extremely positive development in terms of its domestic programs. We're talking about a $300 billion plus infrastructure investment, roads, bridges, tunnels. We clearly have an issue as it relates to our crumbling infrastructure. The infrastructure investment, for instance, that we made in the 1960s can be tied to the economic progress that was made during that decade. It's something that we should invest in currently in order to invest in America moving forward. The president makes that clear in his budget document. He continues to push for universal pre-K, enhancement of Head Start, 100,000 new public school teachers would be funded. These are all important investments in our human capital here in the United States of America. He doesn't adversely impact the big three, as you would call it, Ed, and that's a good thing. Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid left intact. Most significantly, of course, he walks away from the chain CPI proposal that was included in last year's budget as an olive branch to the other side of the aisle. Of course, they rejected it because they reject everything that emanates from this president, even if it's their own original idea. The president thankfully recognized that in the context of this budget and moves away from that flawed chain CPI proposal. That's very positive. And then it's also important that he continues to move toward a more progressive tax system with the formalization of the so-called Buffett rule that would require millionaires and billionaires just to really pay their fair share, at least 30% of income. So you don't have a situation where millionaires and billionaires are paying less than the secretaries, perhaps, that they employ.
Yeah, no more Mitt Romney tax returns. Yeah,
that's right.
That's really what you're going to pay a rate when you're overgrossed on this number. There's no swimming out of the loophole, and that's really what I think the president was trying to get to. But I have to think they had to be behind closed doors at the White House, kind of giggling, knowing that this is going to just be heart attack city for these conservatives who think that he's just nothing but a tax and spend liberal. But if you look at what he has prioritized, isn't this where the country is, polling-wise?
Well, this is absolutely where the country is as it relates to investing in transportation and infrastructure, for instance, investing in education and job training, because the country recognizes that these type of investments are essentially investments in the American people and in our future.
Yeah.
And to your point, the wealthy are doing very well right now. And America recognizes that. The economic recovery has been a schizophrenic one. The stock market is way up. Corporate profits are way up. CEO compensation is way up. But working families and middle-class folks are struggling. Their wages remain stagnant, and consumer demand still needs to be increased to turn our economy around. One of the ways in which you can do that, of course, put more money in the hands of the American people to create job opportunities, as this president through this budget is trying to do.
No doubt. Hakeem Jeffries, congressman from New York, member of the House Budget Committee. So where do we go from here once this is rejected? I mean, we're just going to stay with the sequestration levels and nothing's going to change.
Well, we are in the midst of a battle of ideas, and one of the things that I think we learned last year is that Democrats can prevail in the context of these type of fiscal discussions. Sequestration went into effect on April 1st, notwithstanding the fact that independent economists said it would cost us 750,000 jobs. It was a reckless development. But at the end of the year, we were able to take a positive step forward and reverse some of those sequestration cuts because Democrats were on the side of the American people.
Yeah.
We still have some battles that need to be won, obviously, as it relates to unemployment compensation and minimum wage increase and a variety of other areas. But in the battle of ideas, the president has laid down a marker. It's our job now to articulate the vision that we have for this country, contrast that with those on the other side of the aisle, and push things forward as we've consistently done throughout the last decade.
Congressman, good to have you with us. Hakeem Jeffries, Congressman from New York, here on the Ed Schultz Radio Show. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ed.
You bet.